I think that your words are lost on a lot of people on this campus, and that the best way anyone can demonstrate their devotion to Christ is through actions. Life is too short, and actions are the only thing that really matter.
Great point.
Do you think you could be doing more good than public speaking?
Oh, no question about it. I'm a husband, and I can promise you the quality of my marriage has more to do with my actions, as you pointed out, than my words. I'm a father. I can promise you that you're absolutely right. The majority of good that I do in raising my sons is my actions, not my words. I'm a pastor of a church. I can promise you, sir, I do far more good by visiting the sick, raising money to feed the hungry and clothe the naked. So yes, that's crucially important.
All right.
But, you see, what God communicates is, I've given you rational minds. You're supposed to use those rational minds in order to understand reality. And that is why communication is so crucial, verbal communication.
Thank you. Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
A lot of the things you said on Wednesday and today, I think are just really disparaging to atheists, insulting even. And I really, do you think Christ would go to universities and insult atheists?
Okay. How have I insulted any atheist?
On Wednesday, you called the belief in the evolution of the human body, you said people were gullible for believing that this design could not have come from an intelligent creator. You called us gullible. I took that personally. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Right, sure, I can understand. When a professor marks an answer that you give on an exam as wrong, is that disparaging?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because that's a very objective. That's an objective test of answers. What you're doing out here, I get the impression that you're applying rationality to faith-based questions.
Right.
Faith exists because we can't answer everything. That is why faith exists.
Okay, we disagree.
Why?
I don't have faith because I'm missing facts.
Why does faith exist?
Sir, faith exists because it's the only way to have a relationship. Every relationship that you have with a fellow human being is based on faith or trust. Every time you take medicine from a pharmacist without chemically analyzing it, that's faith.
Yeah.
The fact that you've given as much money and you're working as hard at Texas State for a diploma is definite faith. You can't prove that Texas State is going to give you a diploma on your day of graduation. Sir, we are so dependent on others in this life, on the laws of nature. It's incredible. That's reality. You have faith. All of us have faith.
But the fact that we have to have faith in our relationships is because we can't test everything. We can't test every aspect of relationship.
Good. There's very little that we can test.
That which cannot be tested cannot be known. And that which cannot be known wants faith. That's
like it or not.
So faith exists.
You're going to have faith if you're going to live in this world.
Faith exists because we can't know everything.
Right.
Faith exists because we can't answer everything.
Right. In fact, sir, we can't prove anything. To prove means to show it cannot be another way.
Thank you, Cliff.
But that doesn't mean I'm paralyzed. That doesn't mean I can't have knowledge. Knowledge does not demand proof. Knowledge demands evidence of reliability.
Is evidence different from proof?
Yeah.
This is another thing that really bugged me about your speech on Wednesday.
All right.
If you have evidence for God, then why can you not prove God?
Because to prove means to show that it cannot be another way. I cannot prove that God exists. I cannot prove that you exist.
But
I cannot prove that I exist.
then what does the evidence of God attest to? What does that do exactly?
Well, evidence of God's existence shows me that it's very wise to believe in God, and it's very unwise to be an atheist, because the evidence is that God exists, not the proof, but the evidence.
Okay,
so
I have a good example here.
Yep.
All right, the evidence, and this is arguable, but I think a lot of us agree that democracy, probably the best government humans have ever come up with on the face of the earth. And that's arguable again, but that's a pretty popular opinion in the West here. And so philosophically, you can say that and still not think that it's the best possible system to exist, right?
Right.
So if there's evidence for God, and it's the only evidence, you don't see any other evidence for any other gods, can you verify that he was the first God? Can you say that there aren't other gods that aren't in the picture whose evidence they haven't left behind? Why does the best evidence necessitate that it's the truth? Which is what you're here for, to convince us of that truth. God's existence, Jesus' existence.
I am convinced that the evidence points to God's existence. That is why putting your faith in God, trusting God, is such a wise decision. Obviously, the only reason you're paying as much money as you are and working as hard as you are at Texas State University is because the evidence is this is a reliable institution of higher learning. Obviously, the only reason when you have a green light on a traffic light that you don't stop to make sure that those other cars stop at the red light is because you have evidence that the state of Texas does not grant licenses to people who run red lights.
That's not true.
So you stop at every green light to make sure those other cars are going to stop?
I tend to slow down a bit and take a good look, that's for sure.
Okay, good. Because you know that human beings can make mistakes.
I know that faith isn't flawless.
You know that people get drunk and get irresponsible behind the wheel of a car. Good. See, but your decisions are based on evidence. You don't just blindly believe. If you blindly believe, you're gullible. And that's exactly why, sir, I said an atheist, someone who has concluded there is no God, is being gullible.
Careful now. That's exactly the disparaging speech that I don't appreciate.
Well, I don't understand why you don't appreciate it.
I relate to a ton of atheists, and I don't think one of them is gullible.
Sir, every single one of us at times has been gullible.
Do you agree that Christians are gullible also?
Absolutely. Every human being's gullible at times. But atheism, as I look at it, is clearly an example of incredible gullibility. Why? I explained it. An atheist is someone who believes that life comes from non-life. I'm sorry. I see plant life come from plant life. I never see plant life come from non-life. I see animal life come from animal life. I never see animal life come from non-life. I see human life come from human life. I never see human life come from non-life. So I'm sorry. Because of my observation that life comes from life never comes from non-life, and in light of the fact that an atheist is someone who believes life comes from non-life, I find that to be incredibly gullible.
Christians believe that because it was a book written by humans just the same with the same flaws that you speak of as us, and that's supposed to be concrete. It's like we believe in something that we can see, that we can look up on the internet, and you believe in nothing.
All right.
A book.
Okay. All right, now, obviously you're new to this crowd.
Yeah.
For 3 days now, I've been asked, why do you believe God exists, Cliff? Never once have I said, I believe God exists because the Bible tells me so. Never once.
So just intelligent design.
Intelligent design, objective morals, everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe has a beginning, therefore the universe has a cause. DNA, densely packed information in a single cell, more densely packed information in the DNA of a single cell than in 3 sets of the 30-volume Encyclopedia Britannica. If you and I are going walking up and down the beach, we see ripples in the sand, and you say, hey, Cliff, how did those ripples get there? And if I say to you, well, obviously the waves did that. Cool. We keep walking. We see in the sand, John loves Mary. You say, hey, Cliff, how'd that get there? Oh, simple, the waves. No, irrational. Why? Because so much densely packed information demands an intelligent mind. The DNA of a single cell has more densely packed information than 3 sets of the 30-volume Encyclopedia Britannica.
How do you explain statistical anomalies? Every system has anomalies.
Rats have that much DNA.
I don't doubt that a word could be written on the sand by a rock passing by from a drifting current of water.
John Loves Mary can be written by a rock tossed around by the
I firmly
Wait.
believe that it is remotely possible.
Okay. But that is so remote as to be impossible. I mean, statistically, if you try and statistically
impossible.
figure out what's the possibility of a rock rolling in a wave, writing in the sand, John loves Mary, it's statistically impossible.
But does that make it wrong?
Yeah.
Does that make it
It's
impossible?
gullible. Here we go. I'm going to use the same word. It is gullible to believe that a rock rolling in a wave can write in the sand, John loves Mary. It's incredibly gullible.
What evidence do we have that Jesus rose from the dead? You can't tell me there's archaeological evidence for that.
No, the archaeological evidence is that the New Testament is historically reliable. Now, you read the historically reliable document.
That's just a claim, though.
The evidence points to the
There are
Gospels
hundreds
being
of thousands of
reliable.
people who disagree with you vehemently.
Yeah, but
So what?
how much of the
So-
gospel?
So what if people disagree
Why
with
are
you?
the authority
That
of
doesn't
what the
change
evidence
truth.
says to us?
Truth is not determined by a vote. If we all vote to suspend the law of gravity, is that going to suspend the law of gravity? No.
Listen, Cliff, the evidence speaks differently to everyone.
Fine. And if you violate the law of gravity, you will suffer the consequences, even if you voted to suspend the law of gravity.
You can't analogize gravity to historical evidence. Your analogies.
You obviously don't enjoy analogies. I'm sorry. It's one of the simplest ways to communicate. It's one of the clearest ways to communicate is analogy. Jesus talked in parables.
It is the most subjective way to communicate.
Okay, good. You really believe that?
Absolutely.
Good. What are you living for and why? I'm waiting. What are you living for and why?
I want to touch other people's hearts and just bring joy, see the light in their faces.
Good. Is that subjective? Is that subjective?
Yeah, totally.
Then don't give me the nonsense that you base your life on
was also
specific,
sarcastic.
provable,
Come on.
scientific garbage.
Come on, Cliff.
You are being intellectually hypocritical and you know it.